بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام ميم، ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. The first of our salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The second in honor of Ammar al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third with your loudest voices in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Husain bin Ruh al-Nawbakhti occupies a prominent position in Islamic history and a prominent position within the school of Ahl al-Bayt as being known as the third ambassador of Imam al-Mahdi Ajjalallah Farajahu al-Sharif. A man of unbelievable political acumen and shrewdness. Indeed, it's rare to find a person with political as well as diplomatic skills like Husain bin Ruh. Sadly, many people have not dissected Husain bin Ruh's life with the depth that he deserves. Yesterday, I examined Muhammad bin Uthman and Uthman bin Sa'id, the first two naibs of the 12th Imam. But if ever you wanted to see a politically shrewd figure and a person who the school of Ahl al-Bayt needs to take as an example in the political world today, no doubt Husain bin Ruh al-Nawbakhti occupies that position. Because you find that when you look at all of the four deputies of the 12th Imam, the balancing act that the four of them had to perform was phenomenal. On the one hand, they had to make sure that the communicated and the communicator were in unison with one another. The communicator was, of course, the 12th Imam. This was now a period in which the Shia had to get used to the fact that their Imam was not as accessible as he could be, as in the previous Shia of the Imams were able to meet their Imams, were able to sit with their Imams, were able in one way or the other to at least come and dialogue with their Imams. This nascent Shia community in the occultation were facing a dilemma, not just theologically, but also socio-politically, because at the time they were realizing that not only were many of their beliefs under question, but the Abbasids were in some cases oppressing them in their different areas. Hence, when we examined Uthman bin Sa'id al-Amri or his son Muhammad bin Uthman, we found that sometimes they were finding difficulties not just from the Abbasids. No, sometimes the difficulties they were facing were from the Shia themselves. As in, when you look at these four naibs, the balancing act they had to perform was not just passing the message of the Mahdi to the Shia, but also facing the Shia who were questioning their position as wakils of the Mahdi. Yes? As in, when you look at Uthman bin Sa'id or Muhammad bin Uthman, some of their most loyal companions were the ones who turned against them, as in the likes of Ali bin Bilal, Ahmad bin Hilal, staunch Shia of Al-Muhammad, turned against the wakils of the 12th Imam, sometimes out of envy of their power, or out of greed for the fact that the finance was coming towards them. As if ever there were two killers of any community or the personality of any human being, then without a doubt it's power and greed. You found that some of the most erudite of the Shia were facing situations where, because of their greed, because of wanting to be Safir of the 12th Imam, they were now willing to fight their own brother who they grew up with, their own brother who they knew was more knowledgeable than them. As in, for goodness sake, Husain bin Ruh grew up in the house of Ali bin Bilal. He grew up in the house of Ali bin Bilal, and one of the first people to have rejected Uthman and Muhammad bin Uthman was who? Was Ali bin Bilal. Therefore, Husain bin Ruh al-Nawbakhti lived in an extremely difficult period. He had to first see the Abbasids and their oppression. On the second level, he had to see the Shia bickering amongst each other. Who should collect khums? Who is Naib of the Imam? Who's Naib of the Naib of the Imam? And then on the third level, there are many a question that were raised even within his school. As in, you had now extremist Shia tendencies emerging. They emerged from the time of Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, the likes of Ali bin Hasaka, for example, the likes of al-Shar'ani, the likes of, for example, al-Yaqtini, who believed what? Who believed that the Imams were God on earth. Now that's another issue they had to face. Because you know, many of you will have heard of the Nusayris. The Nusayris, where do they emerge from? The Nusayris emerge from the period of the minor ghaiba. Yes? Muhammad bin Nusayr and the likes were in the period of the minor ghaiba. People who are now saying what? Who are now saying God comes in the form of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Yes? Therefore, Husain bin Ruh was facing major dilemmas as the Wakil of the Imam. But why do people regard him as a man of political shrewdness? It's because the temperament he displayed in being the Safir of the 12th Imam was phenomenal. Yes? He was Safir of the 12th Imam for 21 years. Because we said Uthman bin Sa'id was Safir of the 12th Imam for the first few years. Then Muhammad bin Uthman became the Safir for over 40 years. Then Husain bin Ruh al-Nawbakhti became Safir of the 12th Imam for 21 years. In those 21 years, you will not find a person who was as politically clever, who was as diplomatic in the face of hardship like Husain bin Ruh. And I tell you, the school of Ahlul Bayt needs figures like this today. Yes? As in this person, Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, he used to talk about him by saying what? He used to talk about him by saying, وَكَانَ أَبُو الْقَاسِمْ رَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. Yes? مِنْ أَعْقَلِ النَّاسِ عند المخالف والموافق ويستعمل التقية. Listen to what Imam al-Hujjah used to say about Husain bin Ruh. He used to say that may Allah spread his mercy on Abu al-Qasim. Abu al-Qasim is the title of Husain bin Ruh. Yes? Uthman bin Sa'id's title is Abu Amr. Muhammad bin Uthman's title is Abu Ja'far. Husain bin Ruh, the third Safir of the 12th Imam, his title was what? Abu al-Qasim. Yes? 12th Imam says, Rahimallah. Yes? كان أبو القاسم رحمة الله عليه من أعقل الناس عند الوت عند المخالف وعند الموافق ويستعمل التقية. May Allah have mercy on Abu al-Qasim. He was the wisest of men with the opposition, with our own people, and he used to use taqiyya. Yes? When the 12th Imam gives you a tawqi' like this is the highest honor you can ever receive. When the 12th Imam says that you are wise, when you're sitting with the opposition, you know how to talk with them. When you're sitting with our people, you know how to talk with them. And you know when to say everything and when to conceal certain things. Yes? That diplomatic shrewdness was unequaled by anyone else. Yes? An absolute unbelievable character when it came to a very difficult political period. Why? On the one hand, you had Abbasid Khulafa like al-Muqtadar Billah, easy to get along with. On the other hand, you had Hamid ibn al-Abbas, a terror towards the Shia of the time. Further than that, the Ismailis were on a rampage at the time, because the Ismailis believed in the Mahdi, the Ithna Asharis believed in the Mahdi. Now there was the situation of the Ismailis rising in Qatif, in Ahsa, in Yemen, in Bahrain. In other words, that period of Husain bin Ruh was one of the most difficult periods for any Safir of the 12th Imam. But the lessons to learn from this personality are phenomenal, yes? There are some lessons to learn from his life which can be incorporated in 21st century community as well as world politics. In this, the 15th of my lectures on the 12th Imam this month, I'd like to examine the biography of Husain bin Ruh, in order that we are able to appreciate this outstanding personality. And I'd like to do this in the following stages. Number one, how 7 years before he became Safir of the 12th Imam was he already displaying shrewdness with the Abbasids and with his own people? Number two, how did Muhammad bin Uthman reprimand one of the Shia who tried to ask a receipt of khums from Husain bin Ruh? And what did he say about Husain bin Ruh at that moment? Number three, when Ja'far bin Ma'tal was asked, why did the 12th Imam choose Husain bin Ruh and not you? What was his reply about the shrewdness and about the concealing nature of Husain bin Ruh? Number four, when one of the Shia cursed Muawiyah in front of Husain bin Ruh, what did he say to him at that moment? Number five, in the debate as to who was greater, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman or Ali, how did Husain bin Ruh teach us about the method of dialogue with our brothers and other schools in Islam? Number six, when Shalmaghani said that Imam al-Hujjah, the Mahdi, was shaitan on earth and Husain bin Ruh was in prison, how did the 12th Imam interfere to give an answer about Shalmaghani and his extremist tendencies? Number seven, how did Husain bin Ruh have communication between the Ghulat and the rationalists of the Shia? And how could be that applied to our discussions today? And number eight, which great alim of Ahl al-Bayt was born through the du'as of Husain bin Ruh and Imam al-Hujjah? And how did this alim's legacy result in the mujtahids of the world today being where they are? Let me examine this in order that I dissect this topic in complete depth. Husain bin Ruh became Safir of the 12th Imam in the year 305 after Hijrah. If all of you work with me historically, that would mean the 12th Imam at that time would have been in Ghaiba for over 40 years, yes? He was in Ghaiba for over 40 years, had already had two Safirs. The first of them, Uthman bin Sa'id, and the second of them, Muhammad bin Uthman. He had already said, Al-Amri wabnuh thiqatan. Amri and his son are reliable personalities. But what used to happen was that sometimes these Safirs would make sure that they announce who's going to be after them during their lifetime. And sometimes that person's political shrewdness would show within his character. What do I mean? In the year 298 after Hijrah, 7 years before Husain bin Ruh becomes the third Safir, he was already displaying a political shrewdness. What was that political shrewdness? He was already displaying that when the Shia were getting frustrated with the Abbasid government, that there was a way things could be dealt with. There's no need to come out cursing, abusing, sit back, and there's always a method of diplomacy in which the Shia could be helped. In which way did he show this? Ali al-Aqiqi had gone to see Ali ibn Isa ibn al-Jarrah. When he had gone to see him, Ali ibn Isa ibn al-Jarrah was the Wazir of Bani Abbas. When he had gone to see him, he sat with the Wazir of Bani Abbas. Bani Abbas seemingly were a bit more open to the idea that the Mahdi was not going to return. Therefore, they became a bit easier with the Shia of that period. When he went to see him, he sat with him. When he sat with him, he said to him, listen, I need your help. Me and my family are facing difficulties. The Wazir said to him, listen, if I help you, then I've got to help every member of your family. There's no way whatsoever I could do that. If I now do you a favor, then I'm going to have to do everyone else a favor. It's going to become difficult. At that moment, what took place? At that moment, he left and he shouted at the Wazir. He said to him, then I'll go and ask someone who never rejects a dua. The wazir looked at him, he said, who? He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, you may reject me, but I'm going to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On his way, he met the assistant of Husain bin Ruh. Yes, when he met the assistant of Husain bin Ruh at the time was not the Safir. He was one of the agents of the Sufara. As I mentioned in my previous lectures, there was an underground secret organization maintaining the Shia in the Ghaiba. Yes, you therefore found that when he came, he saw that assistant of Husain bin Ruh. He said to him, what's wrong with you? You seem angry. He said, I went to the Wazir of Bani Abbas, and the Wazir of Bani Abbas did not help me in any way whatsoever. He said to him, wait here. He came back with 100 dirhams he gave him. He gave him some camphor, and he gave him some shrouds. He said to him, this handkerchief in this bag is the handkerchief of the 12th Imam sent to you by Husain bin Ruh. Yes? This handkerchief, whenever you are angry, wipe it on your forehead. Also, not only that, this 100 dirhams, if they couldn't help you, then know that the Imam of your time is always looking out for you, and he is ready to help you. And further than that, you're going to see that they will come back to help you. But there is a method in which you shouldn't get frustrated. You should be calm. Talk to them in a calm manner. Why was he saying this? Because if the Shia were all acting with anger at the time, it wasn't going to help the Shia community whatsoever. If now, when there is a problem for the Shia in the world, you don't straight away cause a fuss. There are ways of diplomatic talk. There's a way of remaining calm. There are certain people, the first thing they want to do is down with the government. No. He said to him, just wait, be patient. Your Imam watches out for you, and I will watch out for you. But don't cause the rest of us troubles with your tongue. Yes? You now telling the Wazir, I'll go to someone who will help me instead of you. What does that do to us and our followers? So he said to him, no problem, I won't do that again. A few days later, what happened? That Wazir, his cousin, yes, Hamad ibn Muhammad, that cousin of his came and he said to Ali al-Aqiqi, he said to him very clearly, he said to him, oh Ali, we apologize for the way that we behaved. What had happened? Husain bin Ruh had gone to the Wazir, yes? He said to him, Wazir, I am Husain bin Ruh, yes? This one of our people has come towards you. Why did you reject him in that way? He was asking for some help, that's it. What Husain bin Ruh showed before he became Safir was diplomatic skills, yes? That don't just straight away attack the government because they don't help you. Think of other ways. Go and sit with the Wazir. Talk to the Wazir. Because many of the Shia, if the government is not for them, what's the first thought in their head? Down, down with the government. Government is great shaitan. Government is the enemy of Allah. No. There are ways to diplomatically negotiate. Yes? He said to him that don't worry. I will make sure that they'll come and they'll help you. And subhanallah, only a short while later, they came and they helped the man. Therefore, 7 years before he even became Safir, already he was receiving that political acumen. And even I tell you, 3 years before he became the Safir, just 3 years before he became the Safir, the narrations mention that Muhammad, for example, mentions Ibn Ali al-Aswad. He said, I used to take people the money of the waqf, you know, endowment money, yes? Sometimes people spend it on mosques, sometimes people spend it on Imam Barkas, sometimes people spend it on orphanages. He said, I used to take it to Muhammad bin Uthman, the Safir of the 12th Imam. He said, when I used to take it, one time he said to me, go to Husain bin Ruh. He said to him, why? He said to him, go to Husain, do not worry. When he came to Husain bin Ruh, he said to him that I have some waqf money to give you. Yes? Husain bin Ruh said to him, okay, give me the money. He then looked at Husain bin Ruh and he said to him, at that moment, give me the receipt for what I've given you. Yes? Husain bin Ruh at that moment, no problem, I'll give you the receipt. This person went back to Muhammad bin Uthman. He went back, he said to him, Muhammad said to him, I heard you ask for a receipt from Husain bin Ruh. He said to him, yes, I did. He said, do you not know Husain bin Ruh is the trustworthiest one of our Shia? You should never ask for any receipt from him. When he takes money, it is spent in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? Because one of the biggest problems in the short ghaiba of the 12th Imam was financial irregularity with khums. Yes? The bickering over Khums began when? It began from that time. Everyone was fighting each other. Ahmed bin Hilal, Shia, rejected the naib of the Imam because of Khums. Ali bin Bilal rejected the naib of the Imam because of Khums. You're saying, but you're both Shia. No, I had Khums in my hands. Now someone else takes that Khums. There was major Uthman bin Sa'id was the most knowledgeable? Come on. Muhammad bin Uthman was the most knowledgeable? Come on. Husain bin Ruh was the most knowledgeable? No. The 12th Imam never once says they're the most knowledgeable. You know what he said about Abu al-Qasim? كان أبو القاسم من أعقل الناس عند المخالف وعند الموافق ويستعمل التقية. Listen to why he is naib of the Imam. Because just in case in the Shia world today, I have people who have studied nothing telling me in the absence of the 12th Imam, the most knowledgeable in law should be Wakil of the 12th Imam. The 4 Wakils of the 12th Imam who he chose weren't the most knowledgeable in law. So can you explain to me where you evolved this whole theory from? Yes, how did the theory evolve? That the most knowledgeable in law. No, look very clearly. Uthman bin Sa'id, Muhammad bin Uthman, Husain bin Ruh, what does he say? He says Abu al-Qasim was the wisest of them. Yes, not the most knowledgeable, the wisest. Why was he the most wisest? Listen to how he describes his Wakil. He says he was the most wisest because of what? Because when those who differed with us were sitting with him, he was wise with them. Those who were of us were sitting, he was of the wise with them. And he used to use taqiyya. Look at the 3 traits of Husain bin Ruh. Yes? The first of them, when those who differ with us are sitting, he is wise with them. What do I mean? When our brothers from Ahlul Sunnah are sitting with us, yes, a true wakil of the 12th Imam will be someone who knows what to say, how to say, and when to say everything when sitting with them, yes? When our brothers from Ahlul Sunnah at that time, when the Wazir or the Khalifa Bani Abbas al-Muqtadar Billah took Husain bin Ruh as one of his courtiers. Imagine, a Bani Abbasid Khalifa made Husain bin Ruh one of his courtiers. Why? Because he noticed in every gathering, Husain bin Ruh would know what to say, how to say, and when to say. Yes? I remember Shaykh al-Tusi narrates, one day one of the Shia cursed Muawiyah in front of Husain bin Ruh. Do you know how he rebuked him? What are you doing? This cursing of Muawiyah, where's it going to get us? Yes? As in now you are doing la'na on Muawiyah. Don't you know our Shia in Baghdad are going to get killed because of your la'na? Don't you know that our Shia in Qum are going to get killed because of your la'na? Don't you realize that when we're sitting with people who dominate a state, who are not of the Shia, you're doing la'na on Muawiyah? As in many were surprised, but Maulana Husain bin Ruh, Muawiyah was an enemy of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, yes, Ali ibn Abi Talib himself fought Muawiyah at Siffin. When he saw Hujr bin Adi cursing Muawiyah, he said, I don't like my companions to be people who perform sab. Yes? You have an issue with Muawiyah, discuss it historically, discuss it academically, but what is this you're doing sab of Muawiyah publicly? Us Shia are just about surviving without an imam who's gone into ghaibah, and now you are doing sab of Muawiyah publicly. On another occasion, sitting with the Wazir of al-Muqtadar Billah, there was a debate between 5 of the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah and him. Who's greater? Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, or Ali? Yes? Who's greater out of all of them? What did they want him to do? They wanted him to say Ali ibn Abi Talib is greater, and the other 3 we reject them, and the other 3 were anti. No. He said, listen, what's your opinion? They said Abu Bakr and Umar are greater than Ali ibn Abi Talib. Why? I said, what are the normal reasons that are posited? They are the father-in-laws of Rasulullah, for example. They are amongst the earliest to come to the religion of Islam. They are the first khulafa. Okay, no problem. These are your opinions. No problem. Our opinion is what? Ali ibn Abi Talib, first and foremost, is the son-in-law of Rasulullah. Not just that, he was chosen by Allah on the day of Ghadir. Not just that, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Aliyum Baba. He came back with answers of wisdom, not to start a fight with them. Yes? They were ulama of Ahlul Sunnah. What did they want him to do? They wanted him there and then to do la'na on the khulafa, so they would get the Shia in trouble. He said, no. He said, if you want my opinion about Ali ibn Abi Talib, this is my opinion. But if that is your opinion, we can agree to disagree. We can live in a world where we can eat food on the table, break bread, without having to curse each other. When Imam Sahib al-Asr al-Zaman described Husain bin Ruh, what did he say? He said, Kana Abu al-Qasim, rahmatullah alayh. Yes? Min aqal al-nas inda al-mukhalif. Look what is important to the Hujjah. Look what's important. Because you know Imam al-Hujjah, how would he communicate with his Safirs? Tawqi'at. He would write letters, or letters of praise, or letters of merit, talking about them. Look what's important to him. Not that you're knowledgeable, but that you represent us with non-Muslims in the best of ways. Yes? Look how important that is to the Hujjah. Today you see the Shi'i, the most important thing for him is he thinks he's the only one going to be with the Hujjah. Yes? Nobody else. Only the Shi'i will be with the Hujjah. Imam al-Hujjah talks about Husain bin Ruh and says, the first merit of his is that he is wise with the non-Muslim. Yes? Or wise with those who differ with us. Number 1. Number 2, he is wise even with our own people. That when he sees them doing sab and cursing on Muawiyah, he tells them, sit down, what are you doing? This is not for the benefit of the religion of Islam. Number 3, and he uses taqiyya. Yes? Because sometimes not everything that you know you say from the minbar of Rasulullah. Yes? Today the problems we face in the Shia world are because of this. Because people who sit on the minbar, tabarra, 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 100 times a year, tabarra. You turn around and you think to yourself, hold on, you're doing tabarra on this minbar. A bomb goes off in a mosque in Kuwait, yes? You're doing tabarra on this minbar. Another bomb goes off in Qatif. Imam al-Hujjah says, why I love Husain bin Ruh is because, number one, of the fact that those who are not Shia respect him. Number two, those who are Shia respect him. Number three, he doesn't say everything he knows about us, yes? There are certain things he discusses publicly. There are other things he remains silent on. That was the recipe of success. Because that recipe of success, what was it saying? It was telling the Shia, not everything you know you say. If you have a difference about khulafa, you have a difference about certain wives of Rasulullah, you don't have to come out and say everything. You say your historical opinion, enough. That's not going to damage. And that's why Al-Muqtadar Billah Al-Abbasi made Husain bin Ruh his wazir. Yes? He took Husain bin Ruh, who was a Shia, to the Abbasid government, made him his wazir. But then what began to happen? What began to happen was the envy began to rise. People were seeing that this person was a wazir in the court of Bani Abbas. Imagine, only 40 years earlier, the Shia didn't know where their imam was. Husain bin Ruh has now taken them to a stage where Bani Abbas, who were looking to kill the 12th imam, are now making Shia their wazara. Yes? You found that when Al-Muqtadar Billah died, who took over the position? Narrations differ, but they say Hamid al-Abbasi took over. Hamid al-Abbasi could not take the power of Husain bin Ruh. Why? He was saying that this Husain bin Ruh, the non-Shia love him, the Shia love him, he has the highest of positions. So what did he do? He imprisoned Husain bin Ruh. Yes? 5 years Husain bin Ruh, third Safir of the 12th Imam, was put in prison. And why was he put in prison? For what reason? He was put in prison. They gave him 2 accusations as to why they put him in prison. The first accusation was what? First accusation was he was helping the Ismailis take over the Abbasids. What do I mean? The Ismailis believe in the Mahdi, and the Ithna Asharis believe in the Mahdi. Ismailis either believe that Ismail, son of Imam al-Sadiq, is the Mahdi, or they believe that no, Ismail died, but his son Muhammad was the Mahdi and he's in Ghaiba. In the Ismailis at that time, when 12th Imam was in the minor Ghaiba, yes, Ghaibat al-Sughra, they went on an absolute rampage, yes. They went into Bahrain, into Yemen, spreading the idea that they are the ones who are looking after the Mahdi. The Mahdi is one of them. You found at that time, the Abbasid Khalifa said what? He said that Husain bin Ruh is working with the Ismailis, who are known as what? The Karmatians, yes? If you go on Wikipedia, type the Qaramita. They were the Ismaili movement who were rising at the time. He made the accusation that Husain bin Ruh is working with Abu Tahir of the Qaramita to overtake Banu Abbas, and that the siege of Baghdad was placed by Husain bin Ruh. That was an accusation they leveled against him to put him in prison. They couldn't take how powerful he had become. The second accusation was what? The second accusation was that he had too much money from the Shia of the time. Yes? Because all the khums, how was khums being distributed at the time? There was no imam. The imams in Ghaiba. You had the Safir of the imam, wasn't the most knowledgeable of the Shia, was a trustworthy of the Shia. Then under him, he had agents in Baghdad, who had agents in Qom, who had agents in Ahwaz, who had agents in Azerbaijan, who had agents in Cairo. The money was all coming towards where? The money was all coming towards the Safir. When the money was coming towards the Safir, the Abbasids could not take it. The Shia are too powerful. As in this Husain bin Ruh, that much khums is coming to him. And you found, subhanallah, if you want to see who stabs you in the back to the government, it's always your fellow Shia who stab you. Yes? As in, this is how the world is. This is how the world is. Ahmed bin Hilal became an enemy of Muhammad bin Uthman, the second Safir, because he couldn't take that he was now in charge of the khums. And now you had some of the Shia who started to work against Husain bin Ruh because of his power under the 12th Imam. Of them was a person who no one could believe changed. Who was it? Al-Shalmaghani. Yes? Al-Shalmaghani, when Husain bin Ruh was announced as Safir of the 12th Imam, amongst the people who was in the house was Al-Shalmaghani. Shalmaghan is in Wasat in Iraq. He was one of the top Shia of the 12th Imam. Yes? Scholar, theologian, had written so many books about Ahlul Bayt. No one was like him in Salah. No one was like him in fasting. No one was like him in Hajj. Every gathering of the Safirs of the 12th Imam he would be in. But he always aspired that one day he would be the Safir of the 12th Imam. When Husain bin Ruh was announced as the Safir of the 12th Imam, envy overtook this lover of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. You know what this person did? The envy overtook him so much that you know what he ended up doing? He completely deviated from his belief. At the beginning, he used to believe in 12 Imams, used to believe in Imam al-Hujjah, had seen Imam al-Hujjah. When the third Safir was announced and it wasn't him, he decided, you know what? Al-Qa'im is shaitan. You know what he began to preach? The first thing he began to preach was what? He said, Al-Qa'im means the one who rises. Do you agree? When we say Al-Qa'im al-Hujjah, it means the one who rises. He said the one who rises is not the Mahdi. Yes? The one who rises refers to the Shia Mahdi. He is shaitan on the earth. Why? Shaitan didn't do sujood to Adam. He stayed rising. So when God refers to the Mahdi as Al-Qa'im, it means that he is shaitan because he's still rising, not doing sujood to the Mahdi. Can you believe someone reaches this level? Yes? Because of envy that he never got the power, first thing he said, Al-Mahdi is shaitan. Second thing, Allah comes into the bodies of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Yes? That the Imams are Allah walking on earth. And now Allah has come into my body as well. Those Shia who want to be saved, heaven awaits them if they pledge their allegiance to me. And hell awaits them if they pledge allegiance to the Husain bin Ruh and the Mahdi. That was number two. Number three, he said Ali ibn Abi Talib is Allah. Astaghfirullah. He said Ali ibn Abi Talib is Allah and he appointed Rasulullah. Yes? Ali appointed Muhammad. But because Muhammad did not do his job properly and betrayed Ali, so Ali has given Muhammad's religion 350 years to survive. And then I, Ash-Shalmaghani, takes over the religion. And I am the one who will bring reform to the religion of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Yes? There was a problem for the Shia. Why at that time? Because Shalmaghani, number one, the famous Shia clan, Banu Furat, were supporting him. He had supporters from their sons. They were joining him. Number two, not only they were joining him, but Husain bin Ruh was in prison. So what do? You're in prison. And the Shia outside are what? The Shia outside are doing what? The Shia outside are believing in this man. Some of them are going towards what was known as Ghulat beliefs. The beliefs that the Imams are Allah on earth. I tell you, if you want to see the most beliefs that the Imams are Allah on earth, it was between 11th Imam's time and the 4 Safirs of the 12th Imam. Yes? There were people promulgating that the Imams were Allah on earth. Husain bin Ruh was in prison. His companion bin Humam came to him. Yes? He said to him, Maulana, you're in prison. The Shia out there are facing difficulties. He said, what is it? He said, Ash-Shalmaghani, you remember him? He said, of course. Ash-Shalmaghani was the one who was with us, with the first Safirs. He was a companion of the Safirs. He said, yes. He said, what's Shalmaghani doing these days? He said, Shalmaghani has come out and said that Ali ibn Abi Talib is God. He appointed Muhammad. And that because Muhammad betrayed the religion, Shalmaghani is the new Messiah. He said, but Shalmaghani is one of our Shia. He said, but he couldn't take that you were appointed Safir. And now he's begun this new movement. Husain bin Ruh at that moment, while in prison, said to Ibn Humam, he said to him, wait until I receive a tawqi'ah from Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. At that moment, what happened? They waited until a tawqi' came from Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. Any of you who want to study the tawqi'at of Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman to his sufara, you can study them either in Tusi's Ghaiba or in Majlisi's Bihar. the tawqi'at from the 12th Imam in his handwriting. Whenever the Shia faced an issue in the minor ghaiba, he would send a letter to that Safir. The letter came saying, curse be upon Ishal Maghani. Yes? That this person has no chance of respite on the day of judgment. Now that he has attributed such things to us the Imams, la'na on him and on his followers and on those who remain silent with what they see. That statement needed to be made by the 12th Imam. Why? Because the Shia were in disarray. Not only the 12th is not present, but at the same time, his representative was in prison. But that statement, that tawqi, had to be made. Otherwise, in that period, Shal Maghani and Hallaj were causing absolute destruction within the Muslim empire and within the Shia at large. One of them saying, I am God. The other saying, Ali ibn Abi Talib is God. The Shia at that time, do you know how difficult it was for them to know what their real beliefs were? On the one hand, the Imam has just gone into Ghaiba. On the other hand, the wakils of the Imams are either in prison or living in taqiyya. That tawqi' proved to be pivotal. Why? Because it gave the Shia an understanding that all of these ghulu tendencies that were coming have to be eradicated from the religion. Why? Sometimes someone may say, I like to mention Nusayris in poetry. Yes? It's only poetry. La'natullah on that poetry. Yes? That poetry has nothing to do with Ahlul Bayt. Yes? Those poets who say, and I wish I was a Nusayri, and all this absolute nonsense. The Imams of Ahlul Bayt despised the person who even brought an attribution that they are near Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? The Imams would say, we are servants of Allah. Never attribute anything else towards us than that. The Shia at that time, some of them went towards that ghulu. Eventually, Husain bin Ruh was released from prison. When he was released from prison, he was able to help the Shia in all their affairs. Yes? His knowledge was unbelievable. When he would come to answer their questions, I remember on one occasion a lovely answer he gave, which all of us can benefit from. A person had asked one of the Shia, ask Husain bin Ruh if he is the Safir of the 12th Imam. Ask him, does he believe the Imams are the awliya of Allah on earth? Are the Imams the guardians of Allah's Risala on earth? The person said, okay, then what shall I ask him? He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, can he overpower the enemies of the Imams? He said, okay, then what shall I ask him? He said, then why didn't Allah overpower the enemies who killed the Imams of Ahlul Bayt? Yes? Could not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had overpowered the enemies who killed Husain bin Ali, who killed Ja'far al-Sadiq? He took it to Husain bin Ruh. Yes? Husain bin Ruh came back with a wonderful answer. The person said to him, do you believe that the Imams are awliya Allah? He said yes. Do you believe Allah can overpower the enemies of his message and the Imams? He said yes. He said, so why didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala overpower the enemies of the prophets and the Imams? You know what Husayn bin Ruh replied? He said, had every prophet of Allah overpowered his enemies, then people would have made those prophets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? Sometimes the very overpowering over the prophets was a sign that they were servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, but that's not the beauty of it. The beauty is that when these enemies of Allah overpower the prophets, look at the reaction of the prophets in their final moments. Even while being overpowered, they still have love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? As in, you would imagine someone, when they're being overpowered, they would give up on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They'd reject the path of Allah. And you see Husain bin Ali saying, I left the world for the sake of you, and I orphaned my children so I may see you. If they cut my body into pieces for the love of you, my heart would lean to none other than you. Yes? Yazid overpowers Husain, but Husain is calm when he dies, whereas the other one can't find any tranquility. Yes? So he said, Allah can overpower these people, but one, it's a sign that they are servants of Allah. And number two, Allah wanted to show you, even when they seem overpowered, look at their yaqeen in me, and you'll understood why I chose them on this earth. That was from the one angle. From the other angle, sometimes people would ask him, can you ask the 12th Imam for some advice? I remember the father of Shaykh al-Saduq telling Husain bin Ruh, He said to him, I want to go on Hajj this year. And Husain bin Ruh replied, but it's dangerous. He said, but it's obligatory, I need to go. Husain bin Ruh says, then very well, go, but stay in the last Hajj caravan, don't be in the first one. He wondered why. I said, why don't I just go in any of the Hajj caravans? Why should I stay with the last one? But then he said, if Husain bin Ruh is telling me, it must have come from Imam Sahib al-Zaman, correct? So he said, I stayed with the last of the caravans. When I stayed with the last of the caravans, I realized why. The Qaramita of the Ismailis attacked every one of the caravans, including the caravan of the cousin of the Khalifa. The only caravan they left was the last caravan, and that was the caravan Husain bin Ruh told me to stay in. Yes? In other words, knowledge towards the Shia, miracles he'd show towards the Shia, and any of them who needed help with the 12th Imam, he would say to them, bring me your letters and I will give them to the 12th Imam. Yes? That time, the father, one particular father came. He would sit down with Husain bin Ruh, and one day he came to Husain bin Ruh. He said to him, oh Husain, I want you to ask the Hujjah. I want to give a letter to him if you don't mind. Yes? What was in that letter? What was in that letter was him asking, oh Hujjah ibn al-Hasan, I ask from you to be the wasila with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't have any sons, and you are the Imam of Allah on earth. And Allah in the Quran says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, ittaqullah wabtaghu ilayhi al-wasila. Yes? Oh, you who believe, be conscious of Allah and seek a wasila to reach Allah. Ya wajihan and Allah. Ishfa' lana and Allah. He wrote in the letter, he said, Husain bin Ruh, please give it to the Hujjah. A while later, Husain bin Ruh came to this father. He said to him, I have news for you from the Hujjah. He said, what is it? He said, you're going to be given a couple of sons. Yes? Of the sons, he was given Shaykh al-Saduq. Yes? Shaykh al-Saduq was born because of the prayers of Imam Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman. And because of the intermediary of whom? Of Husain bin Ruh. On the first level, what did it teach us? Your Imam is alive. So those of you who are asking all the Imams, why don't you ask the Imam who's with you right now? On the first level, when you have an issue, your Imam is alive. He could have easily made a dua mentioning the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib, mentioning Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein. No, he knew Imam al-Hujjah is alive. Why don't I talk to the Hujjah? If me and my wife cannot have children, why don't we open up to the Hujjah? They wrote that letter. From that, Shaykh al-Saduq was born. And subhanallah, what legacy Shaykh al-Saduq gave to Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Yes? Shaykh al-Saduq was born from the prayers of Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. And Shaykh al-Saduq has arguably the greatest book on Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Yes? There are many great works. Na'mani's Ghaiba, phenomenal work on the 12th Imam. Tusi's Ghaiba, phenomenal work on the 12th Imam. The chapters in Al-Kafi by Kulaini on the 12th Imam. Phenomenal. Bihar al-Anwar of Majlisi, the chapter on the 12th Imam. Phenomenal. Ayatullah Safi Gul Paigani's Muntakhab al-Athar on the 12th Imam. Phenomenal. Sayyid Sadiq al-Sadr on the 12th Imam. Phenomenal. Sayyid Sadruddin al-Sadr on the 12th Imam. Phenomenal. You find, for example, Sheikh Ali al-Qurani on the 12th Imam. Phenomenal. But come to Saduq's Kamal al-Din wa Tamam al-Ni'mah. Then you see an unbelievable work on the 12th Imam. Yes? A defense of the 12th Imam like nobody could defend. Yes? It's as if when the 12th Imam was reading that dua for Shaykh al-Saduq, it's because firstly he knew that Shaykh al-Saduq would come back and defend his position. Yes? Shaykh al-Saduq was born when? 310 after Hijrah. Husain bin Ruh became Wakil of the 12th Imam when? 305 after Hijrah. It means within a few years of being Wakil, Allah answered the du'as of whom? Of the family of Shaykh al-Saduq, in order that Shaykh al-Saduq would be born. Number one, because he'd defend the 12th Imam. Number two, not just defend the 12th Imam, also because he allowed a synchronization between the rational of the Shia and the traditional of the Shia. Yes? Because in the time of Husain bin Ruh, Al-Kulaini was writing Al-Kafi. Yes? Al-Kafi was completed by 329 after Hijrah. Husain bin Ruh, you could say, was an intermediary between Qum and Baghdad, between the traditional and the more rational, between those within a Shia milieu and those within rational Mu'tazila circles. Therefore, you found that period, Husain bin Ruh consolidated the position of the Shia. Even I go further in saying that the name Mahdi became easier for the Shia to mention because of Husain bin Ruh. Yes? Husain bin Ruh. You found Al-Ash'ari within the Maqalat talks openly about the Mahdi and the belief in the Mahdi. You find Kulaini within Al-Kafi begins to talk. Yes, Ibn Babawayh may not necessarily mention too openly the Mahdi, but Kulaini within Al-Kafi, Al-Ash'ari within the Maqalat, slowly Al-Mahdi as the son of Hassan al-Askari begins to emerge. Why? Because Husain bin Ruh makes Shia more appealing to all. Yes? It didn't just become a secret organization. Now, he was saying to the Shia, take political positions with Bani Abbas, work with the government, see if you can help our people. Because only a few years later, when the Boyids take over, you would find that the Shia would have a greater position until Saduq's closeness to Rukn al-Dawla would cement the teachings of the Shia at that time. You find therefore, for 21 years of his life, Safir of the 12th Imam, diplomat like no other. A person in the most difficult moments never lost his temper at all. Even when he saw Shalmaghani saying that he was God, he remained calm until the 12th Imam guided him. Even when he saw his own friends go against him, he remained calm. Even in prison, he remained calm. Yes? Why remain calm in prison? For what reason? Maybe it's because he, as a lover of Al Muhammad, had seen greater personalities than him in the prisons. Yes, no doubt. As in amongst the reasons why he was calm in the 5 years in prison, you would think he would be frustrated. He is the Safir of the 12th Imam. There is work to be done outside. The Shia are awaiting him as the Safir. No, he remained calm in prison for 5 years. One of the reasons was because he knew Nabi Yusuf was calm in prison. Do you agree? Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, never did he lose his temper while in prison. He remained aqil in prison with the mukhalif, with the muwafiq. He even used taqiyya while in the prisons. Yes? You found Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam did not necessarily reveal all his beliefs openly while in prison. You found Husain bin Ruh took that example as number one. Number two, the second example who he took for remaining calm while in prison was whom? Without a doubt, the second example that he took was a personality like Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam. That he had known Imam Musa al-Kadhim in all his years in prison. Never once he raised his voice while he was in prison. Never once did he lose his temper. 20 years in the prisons of Baghdad. Musa ibn Ja'far, yes? In the prisons from Baghdad until Basra. Never once did he raise his voice even against the guards. He would offer them food. He would talk to them openly. Until at the end, Harun al-Rashid's guards would even smack them with their shoes. Would smack him across his face. Only then he read a dua silently to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, all my life, I've asked you to allow me to worship you alone. Thank you for that honor. But without a doubt, the third reason he remained calm while in prison was because of the fact he had seen the daughters of Rasulullah in prisons. Yes? Because you could be in as many prisons as you want in this world, but to know Zainab was in prison, how does that break the heart of the lover of Zainab? To know that Kulthum was in prison, how does that break the heart of the lover of Kulthum? Whenever you know anyone who's in prison, let them remind themselves of the daughters of Rasulullah, and let them also remind themselves of one thing, that at least the prisons we're in today, there are roofs. It's not the coldness of Sham in the middle of the night. Yes, rather those prisons that we're in today, they're all covered. The prisons which Zainab and Kulthum went through in Sham, from one prison to another. But Zainab and Kulthum, Nabi Yusuf, Imam Musa al-Kadhim, all of them were of an age of maturity. How about Sukaina bint al-Husayn? Yes, at least with the rest of them, they were at an age of maturity. They could handle the prisons. Sukaina turns to her auntie. Auntie, where's my father, Abu Abdullah? Auntie, you told me he's gone on a journey. Where is he? The narrations mention that one night while in Sham, that one night in the prisons of Sham, she suddenly woke up. She had seen Abu Abdullah in her dream. When she saw the Imam, she woke up. She said, my auntie, where is my father? I just saw him in my dream. She shouted such a scream that Yazid woke up from it. Yes, Yazid turned around to his guards. He said, what was that? They said to him, Husain's young one cries. He said, why does she cry? They said to him, she wants to see the head of her father. He said, very well, take the head of her father from the spear, stick it in a bowl, and take the head towards her. She was sitting there with her auntie Zainab. All of a sudden, the narrations mention that while sitting there, the narrations mention they brought the bowl. The bowl had a cover on top of it. She turned around to her auntie Zainab. She said to her auntie, I'm not hungry. Why have they brought me some food? At that moment when she took off the lid of the bowl, she saw the holy head of Abu Abdullah on top of that bowl. When she saw the head, she lay on the head of Imam al-Husayn and she began to cry by the head. But what did she say? She said, Father, who is it that severed your head from your neck? Father, who dyed your beard with that blood? Father, who is there for the orphans of Al-Muhammad now that we are alone over here? She died at that moment. Imam Zayn al-Abidin called out, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The narrations mention that they wanted to do her ghusl, yes, but the lady who was going to do the ghusl, she came to Sayyidah Zainab. She said, I'm sorry, I can't do the ghusl. She said to her, why? She said to her, was she ill when she died? Zainab said, no, she wasn't. She said, then what are the blue marks all over her body? Allahu Akbar. What are the marks all over the girl's body? The reply breaks the heart of the lover of Sukaina. The reply was, those are the whips of Shimar bin al-Jawshan on the body of the daughter of Imam al-Husayn. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us with Muhammad and Al-Muhammad. Ya Allah, allow us to be amongst those who receive the shafa'ah of Imam Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of our Imam. Allow us to be amongst his soldiers and amongst those who spread his message and his morals in this world. Ya Allah, unite the Muslim Ummah under the banner of Muhammad and Al-Muhammad. Our brothers in Iraq, Ya Allah, protect them with all the atrocities that they face, with the filth of ISIS surrounding them. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of our brothers and sisters around the Islamic world. Our dear brother Dr. Kadhim Saeed, who passed away, the grandfather of our friend Sheikh Azhar Nasser. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide him with the shafa'ah of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, and allow his family to continue in the service of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a surah al-Fatiha for him, but before it the loudest of your salawat.